Good afternoon. This is the regularly scheduled bi-monthly meeting of the Architectural Review Board. The Review Board is a city board appointed by City Council to serve on a volunteer basis. The board is charged by city law to review new construction and exterior changes within Mobile's historic districts. Due to the necessity of following CDC guidance and local and state orders, the meeting is being conducted remotely, and the public may follow the proceedings via a live stream on the city's website. Anyone wishing to address comments to the board may either send those comments in writing by email or the U.S. Postal Service to the Historic Development Office, being sure to include one's name, address, and the agenda item being addressed. Or contact the Historic Development Office to be placed on the list of speakers in the Zoom meeting. Comments and requests to speak in the meeting must be received by 5 p.m. on the day before the ARB meeting to ensure consideration by the board. Staff will introduce each application to the board and briefly outline the request. At that time, the chair will convene a public hearing to review the application. All comments must be addressed to the board. After comments from the applicant, the chair will ask for comments from concerned parties. Members of the public wishing to address the board in the meeting will be admitted to the meeting from the Zoom waiting room when their item of interest is announced. The concerned parties will be introduced to the board and the applicants. After comments from the applicant and concerned parties, the board will determine the appropriate action for the request. When the item of interest is concluded, the concerned parties will be returned to the Zoom waiting room. Following the meeting, staff will generate correspondence notifying the applicant of the board's actions. Appeals of the review board concerning board building issues are heard by City Council. There's a 15-day period to file the notice of appeal with the city clerk. Appeals of the review board concerning signage issues are heard by the Board of Adjustment. There's a 15-day period to file the notice of appeal with the Office of Urban Development. Would the chair call the meeting to order?
Thank you, Christine. Welcome, everybody. Just a reminder, I see some of you have not muted your phone or computer. If you could just mute that so we don't get any errant dog barks or anything else. Other than that, welcome. And Christine, would you call roll, please?
Certainly. Janelle Adams.
Here.
Abby Davis.
Here.
Katarina Eccles.
Present.
Kathleen Huffman.
Here.
Carrie Morin.
Here.
Andre Rathley.
Here.
Craig Roberts.
Here.
Steve Stone.
Here.
Gypsy Van Antwerp.
Here.
Have I missed anyone?
All right. Thank you, Christine. I'll look just a couple of housekeeping items real quick. I'm looking for an approval or a motion to approve minutes as posted by staff.
I make a motion we approve minutes as posted by staff.
Thank you, Craig. Do I have a second?
Second. Gypsy.
Thank you, Gypsy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Before we go to adopt the agenda, I need someone to make the motion that Christine sent out earlier.
I will do that. This is Craig. I move that the Architectural Review Board find that all agenda items listed for the June 3rd, well, this is not June 3rd.
October 21st.
I apologize, I didn't update.
2020 Architectural Review Board meeting be adopted as necessary for performance of the ARB's essential minimum functions.
Thank you, Craig. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, then we just have to look for a motion to approve bid months as granted by staff.
I make a motion we approve bid months as drafted by staff.
Thank you, Craig. I hear a second.
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 All the seconds come at once. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Christine, would you read the first application, please?
The subject property, 1137 Montauk Avenue, is a contributing property on an inner lot within the Old Dolphin Way Historic District. The application under review involves removing 3 windows and an existing bay on the east elevation to accommodate the installation of cabinetry on the interior. The guidelines instruct that the key historic walls of a building should be preserved by maintaining significant historic facades in their original form and maintaining historic facade elements. The east elevation of the subject property is not the primary facade. However, the 2-story bay is a historic facade element. The application does not propose to eliminate the bay, but it does propose changes to the fenestration within the bay. The application proposes to remove the tall 1/1 windows in the angled sides of the bay on the first floor and the central diamond pane window. Based on the existing window trim and the sill that encircles the bay, it does not appear that any of the windows proposed for removal are original to the structure. The guidelines state that original building materials in good condition should not be removed. Although the existing windows do not appear to be original to the property, they do appear to be at least 50 years old and therefore historic. Thus, they may be considered historic facade elements that should be maintained per the guidelines, which further instruct that historic window features, including frame, sash, muntins, mullions, glazing, sills, heads, jambs, moldings, operation, and groupings of windows should be preserved. The proposed removal of the existing windows would not be in conformance with the guidelines. The proposed replacement windows would be just over 1/4 the size of the existing 5-foot windows. The guidelines state that when historic windows are replaced, the replacements should match the design of the original. While the existing windows do not appear to be original to the structure, the guidelines further note, in instances when there is a request to replace a building's windows, the new windows shall match the existing as per location, framing, and light configuration. The guidelines state that replacement materials on non-primary elevations should match the original material in composition, scale, and finish. The proposed siding would match the existing in material, scale, and finish, but the windows to replace the existing in the bay would not be in conformance with the guidelines. Staff is concerned that the removal of window openings from the bay would significantly alter the appearance of this elevation. Therefore, staff suggests one of 2 potential solutions. 1, the existing windows would be maintained on the exterior with a false wall on the interior to permit installation of cabinetry. 2, the existing windows would be removed and blind shutters placed within the window openings rather than siding over the openings. Staff recommendation. Based on section B above, staff believes the proposed removal and partial replacement of windows in the bay on the east elevation would impair the architectural or historical character of the existing house or the surrounding district. Staff recommends withdrawal of the application to allow for consideration of a treatment that would preserve the existing window openings.
Thank you, Christine. I see Mr. Sigler's on the line. Do we also have Austin here, or is it just Mr. Sigler?
I don't see Austin.
I don't think
Okay.
Austin's here.
Well, welcome, Mr. Sigler. Do you have anything to add?
I mean, we'd like it approved, but we love the second suggestion by the staff of putting shutters on the outside where the windows would be, and then walling in the inside of the windows. We also
Okay.
still would like the small windows to appear up top above the shutters, like a transom, where they.
Okay. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So it looked like the current view of with the windows there but you would have shutters that would go up probably 80% of the height, and then you would still have what would look like a long window, but it would be a short window from our vantage point. But from the street, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Okay. Does any staff have any comments on that, or any board members? Sorry. Well,
So
let me step
where
back.
would-
Let me step back for a second. We have a public session now, correct? Do we have any public to speak for or against?
No, there are no members of the public who submitted comments on any of the applications today, nor did they sign up to speak in the meeting.
Okay, well, let's move right to board questions then. I'll open it to the board.
This is Craig. I have a question on some of the things that were mentioned. Plans are to remove the window that is now on the outside plane of the bay. So there would be no windows all the way up, just siding. Is that right?
On
Yes,
the first floor only.
Well, but there's no window on the second floor on the outside plane of the bay at all.
Correct.
So now there would be none. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just trying to figure it out in my mind. So you want to cover up that window because of why do you want to take out that middle window?
Well, the middle window is where the new kitchen hood will go.
Okay.
And we're open to keeping that window there too, and just walling in from the inside. So from the exterior, you would still see that window. It's not in the drawing, but after we got the
Right.
feedback from the staff,
Correct.
we said that we would do all three that way.
So then the two small windows you want to add on the side of the bay, it would, I mean, I understand what the staff is saying to cover up those windows with shutters, but if you want to put these windows in, you will not be able to shutter the window all the way up because the new window would not fit above the old window because it would hit the ceiling, right?
Yeah, so what we would propose would be to have a portion of what would look like a long window exposed and then the shutter covering 80% of it, if that's okay.
Yeah, I really don't object to that. I don't know how the other board members feel, but.
This is Steve. Of the two recommendations or suggestions from the board, I lean towards the leaving the windows in place but walling them from the inside. That way the exterior remains the same. I get what you're saying, Mr. Sigler, about putting a transom and then putting shorter shutters below, but I think that would funk up the proportions of that window unit much more than removing it altogether. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. I would rather leave all 3 windows in place and then just bury them from the inside and, you know, paint the back of the wall black and leave it. But that's my 2 cents. Any other board questions, comments?
I definitely, this is Abby. I definitely don't like the idea of a shorter shutter. It just would not read as a transom at that point.
And jumping on that is there's no shutters,
situation.
and there's no shutters anywhere on the building.
Yeah.
Right.
This is Craig. Can I pop in again?
Of course.
Yeah, another thing, Steve, what you mentioned, you know, if you just leave the windows and like put up a piece of plywood on the inside and continue on, sometimes that does not look too good depending on how it's actually treated. You know, I have known people to put a mirror up on the plywood, and that way the glass seems to have some reflection with a mirror behind it. And that's another option. And to tell you the truth, I mean, because this side of the house has so many weird things going on, like a lot of Victorian type houses did, I assume this is Victorian, sort of a four-square Victorian, I guess. And I don't object to taking out the windows and putting the smaller windows, because there's other smaller windows all around it, and then leaving that one with the diamond pane and just, you know, leaving that one and then boarding behind it. It's way up in the air. There's just several solutions I think that would work. I mean, what staff is recommending that the application is withdrawn and that something is drawn, maybe the applicant could get a few sketches of something that would please him and the staff, and we could look at that and incorporate the things we mentioned and decide, you know. What do y'all think about that?
Well, that option, Craig, is probably similar to a design review committee then. Christine, would you agree on that?
Yes.
Mhm. Okay.
So I don't know if that.
Yeah, that'd be fine, and I'd be glad to sit on that.
And Mr. Sigler, what that is generally you would withdraw your application, and then at least two of the members of the board would sit down with you and staff and kind of go over some, you know, and work on it a little bit more to try and get it to somewhere where it's a little bit more acceptable. If you're amenable to that, your other option is you can leave it as is and ask for a vote, and that's completely your option. But I want to give you all the options you have.
So after the vote, is that option still on the table?
No, if you go through a vote and it gets denied, Christine, what is the waiting time to resubmit?
6 months.
6 months. So that's kind of, so you take,
So you don't want to do that.
yeah, so you take a risk by bringing up something that seems to be split among the board members. It may pass, but there's nothing that's, I don't know. I can't predict anything.
And then from that design meeting, would that then have to go to the full board again for approval?
Christine?
It depends on how substantive the changes are. Small changes, no, but more significant changes, yes. But it sounds like to me that some variation of one of the staff suggestions would be what is landed on. And it doesn't sound like, and I haven't heard from all board members, but it doesn't sound like board members are especially opposed to either one of the staff recommendations or some variation thereof. And
this is Steve again. And Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we did go to a design review committee and Mr. Sigler wanted to stick with your second suggestion, which was building the wall inside but leaving the 3 windows, that really becomes a staff level approval and wouldn't have to come back to the board anyway.
Correct.
Because there'd be no alteration to the exterior.
Right.
Okay, yeah, our only concern with leaving the windows in is that they probably need to be replaced. There's some rotted wood around the windows. And so to the extent that we walled it off from the inside, we're still left with some sort of leakage that we'd like not to have.
Understood.
All right, so I'm open to the design review. When is that meeting next?
Okay, so in that case, you would withdraw your application, and then you would just get with Christine, and we'd schedule a date to see who's available on the board, and we would just sit down at usually their office in the next couple of days.
Okay, we can do that.
All right, we will consider this application withdrawn, and we thank you for your time, and we'll try and make it work for you.
All right, appreciate it.
Send you an email, Mr. Sigler.
Okay, thanks.
All right, next application. Greg, put your phone on mute.
The subject property, 107 Ryan Avenue, is a contributing property on an interior lot within the Ashland Place Historic District. The application under review involves constructing additions on the north and south sides of the existing house. The guidelines instruct that additions to historic structures should be placed in subordinate locations, either to the rear or side of the existing building. The proposed additions to the existing house would be placed at the sides of the house, thereby being in conformance with the guidelines. The addition to the bedroom on the south side of the house and the addition to the kitchen on the north side of the house would be compatible in scale and massing to the existing house in accordance with the guidelines. The additions would measure approximately 113 square feet and 110 square feet each, for a total of 223 square feet of additional footprint. According to the city's GIS, the existing house has a footprint of approximately 3,900 square feet. Therefore, the two proposed additions would be approximately 17.5% of the existing. The locations of the additions, one extending a wing of the house and the other tucked into an existing courtyard or alcove, would be compatible with the existing massing and would have little visual effect. The extension of the bedroom wing would not constitute a significant addition of mass to the wing, and the partial enclosure of the courtyard would be mitigated by the use of a wall of French doors. Further, the foundations and floor heights of the additions would match those of the existing house in conformance with the guidelines. In addition to massing and scale, the height of additions in relation to the existing structure is important to consider. The guidelines note that exterior walls of additions should be compatible in scale and rhythm with the original historic structure. Further, the guidelines instruct that roofs of additions should be subordinate to the roofs of other historic properties in the district. The roof of the proposed addition to the south side of the house would be an extension of the existing gabled roof, thus of equal height. The highest point of the roof of the addition on the north side of the house would fall well below the roof forms surrounding it, and the roofs of both additions will be subordinate to other historic properties in the district. The guidelines state that the walls of additions should be clearly differentiated from, but also compatible with, the walls of the existing historic building. The wall proposed to enclose the addition to the kitchen on the north elevation of the house would be composed mostly of steel French doors, which is very different from the existing wood lap siding of the house. In addition, the north wall of the kitchen would be set back from the northernmost planes of the walls to its east and west, as recommended by the guidelines. The wood lap siding would continue beneath the French doors, tying the existing and new walls together in conformance with the guidelines. The addition to the bedroom on the south elevation would be less evident. The addition would be clad in wood lap siding to match the existing. However, there would be no obvious change in the wall surface where the addition begins. The lack of distinction would not be in conformance with the guidelines. The roofs of the proposed additions would be in conformance with the guidelines, as they would be similar or compatible in shape, pitch, material, and level of complexity to those of the existing historic building. The proposed roof for the addition to the south elevation would be an extension of the existing roof, thereby matching in shape, pitch, material, and level of complexity. The proposed roof of the addition to the north elevation would be a simple shed roof, a typical roof form historically used for additions, and would be covered in shingles to match the existing roof. The guidelines further instruct that the roofs of additions should incorporate details seen in the existing roof. The proposed gabled roof on the south elevation would be supported by knee brackets to match the existing. And the shed roof on the north elevation would have exposed rafter tails, a common detail seen on craftsman style houses. The compatible design of doors and doorways, in addition to historic houses, is specifically addressed in the guidelines. If a historic door is removed to accommodate the addition, consider reusing it on the addition. The proposed addition to the north elevation would replace the existing French doors that presently access the side yard. The applicant has not indicated whether the reuse of these doors was considered or is possible. Per the guidelines, doors and doorways and additions should be compatible with the historic building, meaning that the door material is compatible with the materials of the historic building and the district, and the design and scale of the doorway is in keeping with the overall mass, scale, and design of the addition as a whole. The proposed steel French doors to be employed in the addition to the north side of the house would replace a pair of 3/1 windows and a set of 3 3/1 windows in the existing north wall of the kitchen. Steel is not a window or door material historically used in craftsman style houses. Although the steel would have greater durability than wood doors, the location on the north elevation of the house would not be especially vulnerable to weathering, as would be the other 3 elevations. The proposed material of these doors would not be in conformance with the guidelines. The application proposes the reuse of windows located in the existing bedroom wing on the south elevation. Such reuse would be in accordance with the guidelines, with which direct that windows on addition should be compatible with the original historic building. Reuse of the existing windows could not be more compatible. Staff is concerned about the lack of differentiation between the existing wall of the bedroom on the south elevation of the house and the extended wall of the addition. Staff recommends employing a vertical visual device, such as a false corner board, on the west side of the wing to communicate the addition. Staff's concerned the steel French doors proposed for the addition to the north elevation are not compatible with the historic character of the house and suggest an alternate material be explored. Staff recommendation. Based on section B above, staff believes in concept the proposed additions to the north and south elevations of the historic house would not impair the historical or the architectural or historic character of the existing house or the surrounding district. However, given staff concerns regarding differentiation of historic exterior walls from new walls and the incompatibility of the French doors proposed for the north elevation, staff recommends approval of the application in concept with changes to the noted items considered at a later date by the board. I will note that the applicant has submitted examples of 3 additional properties in Ashland Place where steel windows and or doors have been employed. This location is 207 Lanier Avenue, and the Architectural Review Board approved the steel window enclosures of the side porch in December of 2017. The next property submitted was 106 Ryan, and the Architectural Review Board approved this steel storefront within the enclosed porch in May of 2013. The final property is 106 Levert Avenue. There is no record of explicit approval of the steel windows by the Architectural Review Board. It's not in the plans that were submitted, and apparently, and there's no record in the minutes of the meeting that the board asked any questions regarding the material, but they're there.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Quite thorough as always. I appreciate it. It looks like Mr. Vallis and Mrs. Peoples are both on the line. Anything to add? First of all, welcome. And anything to add?
Yes, thank you for considering our application. And the easier of the 2 comments, the corner boards at the master bedroom addition, the Peoples are fine with leaving the existing corner boards, if that would please the board, and then just continue the addition as it's drawn.
Okay, thank you.
Was that the only comment on the master bedroom?
Well, I
Yes.
think that was the comment, and then it sounds like precedent has been set with the steel doors, so that I guess takes care of that, addresses that comment. I think the only other comment was about any details of stair and railing.
We also sent in photographs. I sent those to Christine
Okay,
of the existing, yeah, I think we sent in photographs of the existing side stair, and there's a.
Yeah, Margaret, if you could go back a few slides, I can identify which picture shows that.
oh, is that, and you did send that last photo. in
That was the one, Steve.
Right. I mean,
I'm
I'm fine
sorry,
with that.
it's not there. It's in the photos that I sent with the packets. I apologize. It's not in the slideshow.
And we're just going to match the existing old Mobile brick steps. And it was a simple iron handrail with no balusters because it's only 18 inches off the ground. I don't think it's just so someone could hold on to it. But I
Okay.
think you have a photograph.
Okay. Well, so the facts have been amended to add to leave the corner board in place. So are there any comments from the board? No comments from the board. Craig, you awake?
I make a motion that we approve facts as written by staff as amended.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. I think that was Abby. All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Okay.
I
Looking
make a
for a motion of action.
I make a motion this application does not impair the historic integrity of the home or the neighborhood and be granted a COA.
Thank you, Craig.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. I'm going to.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The subject property, 104 Levert Avenue, is a non-contributing property on inner lot within the Ashland Place Historic District. The application under review involves construction of a two-car garage and an enclosed connector between the garage and the existing breezeway between the guest house and the main house. The proposed garage essentially would be an addition to the south elevation of the guest house. Review of previous applications and plans for this property indicate the guest house is the detached garage that was converted to a playroom and laundry in 2004. The guidelines instruct that accessory structures should be subordinate in scale to the primary structure. The proposed garage and enclosed connector would have a combined footprint of approximately 512 square feet. According to the city's GIS, the existing house on the property has a footprint of approximately 3,200 square feet, making the proposed garage and connector approximately 16% of the primary building's footprint. Furthermore, the roofs of the garage and enclosed connector would be of equal height or lower than the existing adjacent roofs. Therefore, the proposed garage and enclosed connector would be considered subordinate to the primary building on the property. Traditionally, accessory structures have been placed at the rear of the lot, and the guidelines state that new accessory structures should be constructed in line with other accessory structures in the district. The proposed garage would be placed at the rear of the lot and would be in line with the former garage, which now functions as a guest house, and with other garages in the district. The guidelines further note that compatible materials for new accessory structures include wood frame, masonry, and cement based fiber siding. The proposed garage and enclosed connector would be clad in board and batten siding and appropriate wood siding. The windows would be clad wood, which is a material noted in Chapter 6 of the guidelines as an acceptable material for additions to historic residential buildings and for new construction in historic districts. The pedestrian door accessing the enclosed connector also would be of clad wood. While clad wood doors are not specifically noted as inappropriate, the preferred material for doors on new construction in historic districts is wood. The garage door would be of polymer construction. The guidelines state that if a wood garage door is infeasible, a door with a look and finish appropriate to the style of the house should be chosen. The proposed garage door would have lights over the tall panels, which is reminiscent of Craftsman style doors. The Craftsman style was popular from roughly 1905 to 1930, predating this house. The existing house has features such as a cornice line balustrade over the sunroom on the southeast corner of the house and bay windows that are reminiscent of the colonial revival style of architecture popular from 1880 to 1955, but also seen in vernacular examples through the present day. Although the Craftsman style predates this house, it was popular during a portion of the same period of the colonial revival's popularity. Therefore, the proposed garage door would not be obviously incompatible with this non-contributing property. Staff recommendation. Based on section B above, staff believes the proposed garage and enclosed connector would not impair the architectural and historic character of the surrounding district. Staff recommends approval of the application.
Thank you, Christine. Mr. Curley, welcome back.
How are you?
Doing well. Anything to add?
I think Christine covered everything.
Okay, I'll open it up to board questions. All right, no board questions today. I will look for a motion to sign facts.
I make a motion. We sign faxes written by staff.
Thank you, Greg. I hear a second.
Second.
Thank you, Gypsy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. I make a motion. This application does not impair the historic integrity of the home or the neighborhood and be granted a COA.
Thank you, Greg.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Douglas.
All righty, thank y'all. Have a nice day.
You too. Any further business, Christine?
No, there's not.
All right, we will adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.